All right, kids, so here's your first little thing we're going to do. And this is going to be in JavaScript. And in particular, it is going to be in a platform called the AppLab, that is in code.org. So when you're in code.org, upper right-hand corner of your page should be a little pull-down menu that says New Project. Open that drop-down menu and select AppLab. And so the idea behind this is it kind of looks like you're creating an app for a phone. And anything you make here, you can send to your phone with a QR code. What I'm interested in is making something quick with you that involves colors and having you get the correct link to submit to me. And you'll submit that for one of your assignments today. So the first thing I want to do is in the upper left-hand corner, there is a code button, a design button, and a data button. We are only going to work with the code button and the design button today. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to hit the design button. And what I want to do is these are the objects that I can add to my screen. And the only thing I want to do is I want to add a button to my screen. And these are the properties or attributes of the button. So it's called button number 1 in the program. But you can add text, and I think the text I'm going to add to it is the change color, because when I click on the button, we are going to change the color of the screen. And then there is, I can click on it and drag it and make it a little bit bigger if I want to. Sometimes I can get to it, sometimes I can't. So I can make my button larger. And I can make the font size larger. So if I scroll down, I can make the font size larger. And for right now, that is all we need to do. You've got a button object in the middle of your screen, and you've changed the name to change color, and you've changed the font. All good. Now go back to the upper left-hand corner and click on Code. And in JavaScript, and in this particular version of JavaScript, it is event-driven. And what that means is that when I click on this button, I can make things happen. And the thing I want to make happen is I want to change the color of the background every time I click on this button. So in order to do that first, we will need to declare some variables. So I can go up here to the variables. And I know it is hard to see, but I'm going to take 3 of these and I'm going to drop them up there. And I will keep it as blocks if you'd like. So we can all look at blocks, but it does not need to be blocks. So I'm going to drag those out there, but I'm going to go back to text only because I like the way the text is. And I'm going to call this variable R, and I'm going to call this next variable G, and I'm going to call this next variable B. So RGB for colors. What we're doing is we're letting the program know that we are going to have some variables that we use, and we're going to change their values as we go through the program, but we need to let the program know that, hey, I got a variable here, I'm going to be using this, be ready. All right, so let's go back to the UI control, user interface, and let's take this on event block and stick it out there. And I'm going to go back to blocks this time because it might be easier to work with. So this is an event block. This is a block for the change color. So I'm going to click on this, and the one I want to mess with is button number 1. And the event for button number 1 is when I click. And so when I click on the button, I want something to happen. And the thing I want to have happen is I want the color of the screen, the background screen, to change. And that is a property of the screen. So what I'm looking for is something down here that says set property. And way down here at the bottom is set property. I'm going to drag that and stick it inside the blocks up there. And the thing I want to change is the screen number 1. The screen number 1, I can have many screens on here. But screen number 1 is the default screen, so I'm going to change that to screen number 1. And the thing I want to change is the background color. And what I want to change here is I want to change, I will use the R, G, and B. Now what I'd like to do is every time I click on the button, I would like these variables R, G, and B to change. So I'm going to go back to the variables. I am going to take this variable, drop it in there. Oh, that was a teacher technique. I'm not going to use that one. I'm just going to use this one. I don't need to declare it again. I don't need to use var. So I will go R, and then in this one there is a, I think it's under math. There's a random number generator. I'm going to drop that puppy in that hole there. And I want to go from 0 to 255. And then if I right click on this, I should be able, it should allow you to duplicate it, but it might not. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to do 1 for R, 1 for G, and 1 for B. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing I did. And this is where it might be easier to do it with text. So if I turn it back to text, I can go G equals random number 0, 255. And I can go B equals random number. If I spelled it correctly, it'd be good. Number from 0 to 255. And then when you go back to text, when you show the blocks, they're back the way they were. And I don't want 255, 0 and 0. What I want is R, G, and B there. So my variables exist, and I don't have one down there, so that's going to be okay. I'm just going to go here. I'm going to put in R, and G, G, and B. And let's see if this works. So I click on the run. And every time I click on that, the color changes. Now, I would like for you to submit a link to this. So here's how we do this. Upper right-hand corner, let's click on rename. All right. Give me your first name, last name, and maybe what it's about. And then click on share. You can click on save first if you'd like, and then click on share. And you just want to copy a link to the project. This is how you'd send it to your phone with a QR code. I'm just going to copy a link to the project. And that link should be copied. And then you can submit that link in the assignment. All right, kids. Have fun with this and play around with it. And then next week we'll decide if we want to keep using this platform or maybe use something else.